Welcome, everyone. I went ahead and just am going to go ahead and record a multiplication webinar for those of you guys that missed it last week on Sunday. About a half hour to go through this. So I'm going to go ahead and just get to it with you all. So thanks for being here, and I'm really hoping this is helpful for everybody. So I went ahead, I made a little slide presentation. So this is about how to really successfully teach multiplication in a way that's really going to stick. Everybody probably knows about drill and kill. There is drill, hopefully not kill with this. So I had made about in 2008, I had made a booklet. It's available on Teachers Pay Teachers if anybody doesn't want to do their own legwork. It's like $4. So let's get started. So my name is Pam Nicholas. So I wanted to go ahead and just introduce myself, talk about who should learn multiplication and why, discuss what the daily practice of this looks like, answer FAQs, and obviously we can't have an open forum because I don't have anybody here with me right now. So get into it. So my name is Pam. I have a master's degree in education with an emphasis in curriculum development. I've been teaching for over 20 years. I've been doing it as I started out as a public school teacher, went to private school, saw a lot of craziness there, pulled my own kid from private school as well as public school, and we went our own way and homeschooled. And then I ended up having former parents of mine from the schools I taught at ask if I could homeschool their kids too. So I ended up with my own small little private school. And now a lot of those kids I'm still working with as high school students over at Huntington, Surrey. I also had started up a side business. I don't have time for it now, but I was designing project-based learning experiences for homeschoolers to help them out that would just cater to exactly what their needs were and what their interests were, and did a lot of cross-curricular integration with that. So that was a lot of fun. So now I'm the director over at Huntington, Surrey. We're a small, private, accredited, nonprofit high school here in Austin. So who should learn their multiplication tables? So traditionally, students begin to learn the concepts relating to multiplication in second grade. This is when they really learn how to skip count their 2s, 5s, and 10s. So how do we teach that? Manipulatives. I would take coins, and for 2s, I would use pennies. And, I can put a big pile of pennies in front of the, kiddo and say, okay, well, how would you count this? How can we tell how many pennies there are? And so, of course, they'd start going 1, 2, 3, 4. And I said, well, there's a slightly quicker way to do this if we know how to skip count. So I take, 2 pennies at a time, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Learning how to, go ahead and also, having them pay attention to the patterns and that there's only even numbers when we're, skip counting our 2s, things like that. I would use nickels for 5s. How much money do you have? 5, 10, 15, 20. And the same thing for dimes. So that, and obviously the kids who wanted to learn at quarters. But that's when we really started that age, around the second grade age is when we really started doing that. Third grade, I taught third grade a number of years in private school, and the private school I was at had a lot of kids with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and so this is where I really, formulated my little book there, Multiplication for Success. was in working with these kids and really learning what they needed to help multiplication stick. So generally in third grade, students tend to be 8 to 9 years old. They were ready, to learn their multiplication because they understood the concepts of adding and subtracting pretty well. They knew the concepts of skip counting well. So why is it so important for kids to know their multiplications tables? So study after study, as well as my own personal experience teaching 20 years, is shown that kids who are not fluent, that means do not have automaticity with their multiplication, struggle in math in all of their following years. And what fluency automaticity means is that, if I say to you, what's 7 times 3, you spit out 21. 7 times 8, 56. There's no pause, there's no break. That number just pops up in your mind and you know it. And that is fluency. You don't want to, be sitting there, okay, 56. That's not fluency. It's been interesting because I've taught everything from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade now. And I've seen it become really, really difficult. The kids who hit Algebra 1 and they don't have their multiplication down, they really do struggle. So increased math anxiety. If you don't know your multiplication, you're sitting there and, it's terrifying when you get into higher level math. And so it brings in this whole thing of hating math, not wanting to do it. Why do I have to do this? I'm never going to need this when I'm older. I'll bet you every time those are kids who struggle with their multiplication tables. So it's just really, really important. Increased cognitive load. And what that means is if I'm a math teacher and I'm over here and I'm trying to teach something like, 2/3 x plus 12 minus 3/4 x equals 1/3 x plus whatever, I can't teach a kid how to do something like that if they're still back here, slowly going, okay, 3 plus 3, trying to skip count in their head and everything else. They don't have the room to learn the new thing because they're still back there trying to figure out and sort through their multiplication. So it makes math pretty unbearable if you don't have it. And again, that goes also with slower processing instruction. So again, if I'm back here trying to figure out my multiplication tables and the teacher is up there already, trying to explain how to do some more difficult multi-step process, I'm not listening to the teacher and what the teacher's saying because I'm, again, back stuck with my multiplication. So I often say math is like rungs of a ladder. If you've got all the rungs, it starts in kindergarten with learning the association of, here's this object and here's the number associated with it. Here's me counting up to 100. Here's me using manipulatives and writing number sentences for very simple addition and subtraction problems. So that's what these little rungs of the ladder, and then it grows into multiplication and then division and working with fractions and percentages. And all of these things relate to each other. But if you're missing your multiplication, you can't really go any higher. It's very difficult. I mean, you can use a calculator, but unless you have a scientific calculator or graphing calculator, you're going to be sitting there again back on your calculator trying to figure out least common multiple and greatest common factor. When the teacher's already moved on. So if I'm looking at 1/3 plus, 2/5 automatically, okay, that's 15. My denominator is 15, or something 1/6 and 5/8. Okay, that's going to be 24, not just 48. Like if I'm sitting back there, trying to still figure that out and it doesn't come to me right away, I'm missing a whole bunch of other things. So fact families, students who don't recognize fact families get stuck, miscalculate, and often give up. And so I'll talk about, teaching the fact families in a little bit. So how do we go about teaching all of this? So first, really make sure that they understand their basic math. They understand even numbers. They understand addition, the concepts of addition and subtraction. Again, you want to use manipulatives to teach skip counting basics, right? I'm not missing, even though I'm not saying all of the numbers, and at the end, I'm still getting the same number at skip counting as if I had gone 1, 2, 3. And so that they really understand that concept. Coins are perfect. M&Ms are good too. They're good carrot. I believe in carrots, not sticks, especially with math. You want to, right now, when they are, if your kid is little, right now, it's okay to do extrinsic motivators. As they get older, hopefully they'll have the maturity and start to see intrinsically why it's good for them to know, like, yeah, I have been struggling in math, so, I guess I really should use it, do this. Yeah, so carrots are good. Other thing, we'll talk about other things we can do too to kind of get the motivation up. So when I first explained the concept of multiplication, a lot of times too, what I'll do is, like, I'll have a lot of jelly beans in a jar, and I'll ask the class, okay, so how can I figure out how many jelly beans in this jar? And they'll say, well, you can pour them out and just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like, yeah, that's one way to do it. What if I had a little bit more information? What if I could told y'all that I put jelly beans, the same exact amount of jelly beans in this jar over an 8-day period? And do you have enough information to figure that out? They'll think about it for a minute and say, well, but I don't know how many you're putting in over 8 days. And I'll say, right, so I guess you don't have enough information to figure this out a little more quickly. So what if I told you over 8 days I was putting 5 jelly beans each day in this jar? Then do you have enough information to figure out how many are in the jar? And so I'll have them work together and talk about it and brainstorm together. And, they'll say, okay, well, it's 5 plus 5 plus 5, and write that out over the 8 days. And I'll say, yeah, that's absolutely. And we all know how to skip count by our 5s, right? So let's do that together. So, okay, 5, 10, 15, 20, 40. And then I'll tell them, okay, so there's a way I can figure this out even faster with that information. And then I'll write a number sentence. So if over 8 days, and then I'll, put, I was putting 5, jelly beans in the jar, what I need to do to get there real fast is multiply. I'll put little times there. So 8 times 5 is 40. Great. I write that down. I'll say, what if I had put, it's like, you can test me on this so I can show you how much faster it is. So, what if I put 7 jelly beans in the jar? And so, I'll 8 times 7, 56. Okay, what if I had put 12 every day over 8 days? 96. See how fast that is? So that's what you can do with multiplication. That's why it's so handy to have this. So I kind of lay it out like that for them at the beginning. So daily practice using multiple inputs. I'm going to stop the share for a second. Okay, so daily practice. What that looks like is about 15 minutes a day. And you want to start off obviously with 2s, because hopefully they know their 2s from 2nd grade, or you've been working with practicing skip counting 2s with them. What I do as far as daily inputs, so your brain's like a computer where, a computer would have a mouse, and the computer's getting information from what you're doing on the mouse, and it's got a keyboard, and it's got voice recognition, and so there are lots of ways a computer gets information so that it knows how to process and do what it needs to do. Same thing with our brains. So there's auditory, there is kinesthetic movement. So auditory is hearing, visual, what you're seeing. There's a smell and taste, and all of our senses, right? So those are your inputs. So when teaching multiplication, especially with kids with dyslexia, often have memory issues, retention problems. So I will have them use as many inputs as I can to help remember these things. They also need repetition, 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 repetition. There's no way getting past that. So with their twos, we start out and I'll have the kids use their fingers at first. So they've got the kinesthetic, they got a little bit of movement. And then I'll also have them written on the board so they can see it. And so we'll just go run through it. So, 2 times 1, so they have one finger sticking up is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. So then I'll have them look at their fingers for a minute at first and like digest that. So we said 2 times, how many fingers are you holding up? 3, right? So this is your way you're saying 2, 4, 6. So I know the words that are coming out of your mouth are not matching your fingers, but if you can say those words, it all comes together and you've got a number sentence, right? Said 2 times, how many years to get 3? And we said 2, 4, 6. Oh, there's my answer, 6. Okay, so we'll just run through it like that. Then I have the sheet, and we're going to get into the songs. I don't have a song for 2. I have a song for just about every other one. So in that packet, let me go ahead and do a screen share and get it over here. Okay, just had to back out of my presentation here. Okay, so in the packet that I produced, we go ahead and we start out with a sheet like this. So after we kind of practice with our fingers, we'll do it on here and we fill out the top row, 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 4. So we go through, so this is like a little cheat sheet for them. And then I set a timer and I have them run through. They can use this as the cheat sheet and fill out the rest of this guy. What I found with teaching lots of different kids is, and I'll always give the kids the choice, but I found that a lot of, oddly, my dyslexics and dysgraphics prefer looking at these problems vertically and not horizontally. So you want to ask them, I would show them the sheets and just say, okay, which one is, which one's more comfortable for you to look at, and let them choose. So we go ahead, we do our little drill and kill bit right here. And then we go to our recording sheet, which I have one at the back of my packet here. We go to the recording sheet here and we record the date. If I'm working on my 2s, I'm going to write 2s and how long it took me. The goal is to get these done in a minute. If they're dysgraphic, maybe a minute and a half, and have these down. And the nice thing about doing the recording sheet is the kids really do look at those and they'll see their improvement. So they'll say, oh, it took you 3 minutes today. Well, let's shoot for, maybe it'll take you 2 minutes and 59 seconds tomorrow. Let's see if we get a little bit better. Also, if my kids are dysgraphic, I'll sometimes, say, okay, I'll be your pencil, or just verbally tell me what the answer is. And we'll run through and I'll let them just verbally tell me. You do want to get a little bit of writing practice in there though, so I don't do that 100% of the time. Then we'll go to the multiplication table. I explain to kids just 1 times whatever is just that number. So they know to fill this in, and if they're working on their 2s, they would fill this in and then we'd stop. Okay, so here comes the other stuff now. So they've had some basic auditory input with just running through their 2s, but the other ones, and they've already had so much practice with it. Again, by 3rd grade, this should come pretty easily. All right. Oh, actually, I should say, before you ever let them move on to a new table, make sure that they're fluent. So how do I know a kid is fluent? I'll have flashcards or just verbal. And I'll say, okay, let's, run through these. And I'll say, let's run through them in order first. So 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3. And again, I'm looking for them to say just right away, 2 times 4, and they'll just say 8. Okay, they won't like do this. They won't use their fingers. They won't kind of do this in their head. They'll just spit it out. That's fluency. And that's what we're gearing towards. So depending on the kids, some kids it takes a week. Some kids it takes 3. But again, don't move on to tables until they're fluent with that one. And so let's say my kiddo is done, with their 2s, and they've shown me that they're fluent all the way. And then I'll ask them, make sure you ask them mixed too. So, when you're testing them, okay, what's 2 times 8? What's 2 times 12? What's 2 times 5? The other thing, the cheat that I've seen kids try and use with this is when you're testing them, if I say 2 times 5 is, and they should just say 10, sometimes they'll try to cheat a little bit to give them some extra time to think about it. So they'll repeat back. So if I say 2 times 5, they'll go 2 times 5 is 10. That doesn't count. Don't let them do that. You have to say, don't repeat back to me what the question is. I just need you to tell me the answer. So 2 times 5, they say 10. So when they're like boom, 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 like that with it, then you move on. Okay, so here's the key part to the making it stick. So I went ahead and for the extra auditory input, I had them learn the skip counting to these other numbers by song. I know there are a lot of programs out there with a lot of, tunes and, whatever else to go with it. But what I thought was, why not use, again, to prevent the cognitive overload of having to learn a new song on top of what they're already doing. You want to do a song that you both already know and put it to that, because it reduces the cognitive load. So I did mine to very traditional songs that the kids would know. So for 3s, the music, the melody is Row, Row, Row Your Boat. So for example, and apologize for my, it's not my singing voice here. So I did it as for 3s, I did 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, and 36. So my kids already knew the melody to that. I knew the melody to that. Was an extra cognitive load, and they knew the songs. So again, I would have them skip count with their fingers. So we would do 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, and 36. So once we ran through it that way, I would have them sing, we would sing and fill in the top row again here. So they have a cheat sheet, and then they would do all of this. When they're good and they're singing on their own, they can fill this out on their own. Don't sing with them, let them sing on their own. The singing here is really key. I still have kids who I taught in 3rd grade. They're now in high school, and I'll hear them hum sometimes just to calm themselves down when they have a math test. So I'll kind of hear them, and they sort of smile and they go on. Older kids, it's tougher to get them to sing because it's not cool. So you gotta work towards getting them past that. You don't want to make them do it in front of other people, but when you're working with them, you want them to sing. I will tell you from all of my experience, the kids who refuse to sing, it takes them longer to get these down than anybody else who's singing. So the singing is key. So I have songs in my packet here. So I've got 3s, 4s go to Frere Jacques, 6s are to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, 7 Bingo, 8, all the pretty little horses, 9, Pop Goes the Weasel, and 12s. She'll be coming around the mountain. So, so 4s, for example, would be to Frere Jacques. So I did it to, I just did, these are 4s, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. And by the way, it's actually really interesting because if I just hum along when they were trying to, you know, do this, just hearing the song would make them remember the number to write up here. You know, something like, I'm not singing, you do it on your own, I'll hum for you. So, you know, I'll just go, and they know to write 4, 8, 12. They do that on their own. 16, 20, 24, especially the 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48. So again, this was a song my kids knew. You don't have to use my songs. You can put them to a song that you know and that your kid knows. But again, it helps to reduce, like, oh God, I gotta learn a whole new song. It helps to reduce that. So anyways, so you wanna run through these. I didn't do 11s because 11s are pretty easy. It's just you're doubling the number until you get, you know, 11 times 10. You're obviously with anything with 10, you just stick a 0, and so the 10s are not in here. They're pretty easy to teach those. So once they're done and they've shown you that they're fluent, so again, they finish these sheets completely on their own in about a minute, minute and a half. So once they get through that, and again, they should be practicing this table in the back. They should be recording every day what they're doing here. The idea is with this table that they finish this table in 4.5 minutes or under. Again, you can do this verbally with them, especially if they're dysgraphic and they're not, you know, they really hate writing. You don't want to always excuse them from the writing, but you work out a deal with them. You know, maybe you're the pencil today, or they're verbally telling you, but you want to just be hearing them skip count real fast, okay, when they're doing this table. Then when they're ready, you go to this guy here. They should be able to complete 100 mixed math multiplication in 4.5 minutes or under. When they're done with that, division. So you want to get them to a point to where they're completing 100 division problems in 4.5 minutes or under. Okay. The other way to practice this too is fact families. So you may want to mix in once a week. I just make little cards like this. So when they're done with the multiplication, the division, you can review it all. It's just a cheap little Post-it, and you cover up one thing and say, we're talking about multiplication and division fact families. What's missing here? Sorry, this is, looks, I can't tell. Yeah, I know, I guess these are okay. 321, so, oh, 7. 7's right, good. Okay, let's look at this fact family. We're talking about not adding or subtracting. We're talking about multiplication division. So what's the number that's missing? 21, great. So you make these little triangle guys for extra reinforcement for their fact families. And then also what I do is so they don't forget, one thing I should mention is when you're moving on from table to table to table, don't let them forget the previous tables. So, you know, if they've finished their 2s and they've finished their 3s, I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to give you mixed, you know, review. You know, so 3 times 3, 9, great. 2 times 4, 8. So you want to run through that and do a little cumulative review daily too. So basically it looks like sing with fingers, go to the row on the sheet, have them fill that out. Hopefully they'll get to a point where they can fill that out on their own, have them complete the sheet. And then when they're ready to test them on that table, but then also go back, and the same day you're testing them on that table, go back and do a little mixed review too. Make sure they haven't forgot. Also, when we're singing, we don't stop singing. Like if I'm on my 4s, we'll still sing through the 3s and the 4s, so they don't forget the songs. So, you know, if I'm on my 6s, we'll sing through our 3s, our 4s, our, you know, 6s. So I'll keep singing all the songs again every day to reinforce so they don't forget what they've already learned. So sing, 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 sing. All right, so I'm going to go back to my share screen here. And going back to the presentation. So yeah, sing, sing, sing. If you do want the packet, it's available up here on Teachers Pay Teachers. But again, it's not necessary. You can kind of formulate your own path if you want to. So FAQs, do you really need to practice daily? Monday through Friday, yes. I would do it 5 days a week. You can have the weekends for a break. How long should practice be? Really, this whole process should take about 15 minutes. What materials will I need? I highly recommend you get a sheet protector and put your multiplication table that you're working on in that sheet, that you get a dry erase marker. You need a timer handy. You need the, you know, really important, do have some sort of daily practice recording sheet so that your kids can see their progress. That's really, really important. Manipulatives are good. Like I said, coins when you're first teaching skip counting. M&Ms are always fun if you want to, for, you know, some extra stuff, extra carrots there. How do you talk to your child about learning math facts? So, you know, again, I would tell them, just like it was so important for you to, you know, it's important for you to learn your letters, because why? Well, letters let me read. Well, if you learn your math facts, they'll let you do all the other math that you're supposed to do when you're in school, to graduate high school, to go to college. So this is just like learning your letters. You know, again, also, you know, emphasizing that it actually makes you do math much faster and easier if you can do it. So like with the jelly bean example. So that's how I generally talk to the kids about that. What should I do if my child gets frustrated? Stop. Don't, you know, if they're getting upset, you definitely don't want any kids in tears when you're doing this. You want it to be a positive experience. You don't want them to have math anxiety or hate math and just completely shut down and turn off to it. So what I recommend is, you know, take a break. And then when you come back to it, realize your kid got frustrated because they were overwhelmed. It was too much, they were on brain overload. It was too much information for them. They're feeling too much pressure. So, you know, start out with, you know, instead of learning the whole song for the whole table, maybe we're just going to try and do 2 numbers today. Okay, so if we're doing our 3s, I'm just going to go 3, 6. Okay, so can you do 3, 6? Oh my God, how wonderful. That's awesome. I'm so happy that you tried and you gave this another shot. Like, that shows grit. I'm really, really proud of you. You really want to pour that praise on. And again, great, that earned you a M&M or, you know, whatever it is. You want to make it also very pleasant. You know, maybe it's a cookie, hot chocolate time, snuggle while you're working on these. So the environment should be very pleasant too. So once I learn, you know, the 2, then wait a day. Okay, let's add 1 more. So 3, 6, 9. Okay, can you write that down? 3, 6, 9. Oh my God, you're awesome. Look at you. One thing I do tell parents is don't ever tell your kid that they're smart. That's, you want, because then it like builds up this expectation so that when they feel like they're not smart, they get really, really down on themselves. They shut down. They're not willing to try. So I always tell kids, you are trying so hard. Look at how hard you tried. That's awesome. Or, you know, I really love how you're paying attention to me. And so you got it. That's really great. So yeah, that's the type of praise that I would really recommend giving kids. And really this was open forum, but there's nobody here. I'm all by myself. So I will end this for now. So I hope that this was helpful to y'all. I'm going to be with my summer and just seeing all the new homeschooling people out there. I think I'm going to go ahead and do some other ones about teaching kids how to read, how to write. So I'll probably be putting up some more stuff on to YouTube. I know this is not high school stuff, which is where I am at right now, but I just feel like it would be helpful for the homeschooling community. And I guess all I ask is hopefully people will just get to know more about my little school. We can't do our regular recruitment like we normally do, so it's all social media right now because of the pandemic. So if you know anybody who would be interested in a very small, again, we're accredited, which is very important, little high school. It's kind of just like homeschooling, except it's with credentialed teachers. Our class sizes are very small, and usually it's, you know, like on average, I'd say it's about a 1-to-4 teacher-student ratio. So anyway, so yeah, all I ask is if you do know of anybody, this school is called Huntington, Surrey. Where's the, I don't know if you can see it on there with this type of Zoom. But anyways, so thanks. Hope you guys are staying safe and healthy and well. So take care.